Alright, so what I want to talk about today is why you should never lend your bike to anyone. Don't let people borrow your bike. Now I'm going to give like a few points, and I'm not going to give the most obvious one. Like the most obvious one is, yeah, they'll drop your bike. I'm not even going to say that point. I'm going to give you some points that I never thought of, and you probably never thought of. Some of the weirdest things that you see in the statistics about crashes. Now at the same time, I've also borrowed people's bikes, so I got into riding because I was borrowing someone's bike. But I want to highlight the difference between someone offering their bike for you to ride and someone who's asking to ride your bike. It's the second person, the one who's asking, that's the one you need to be the most wary about. When I first started riding, I didn't have a bike. I met someone who did, and I told him, like, I got my license but I didn't have a bike, and he was encouraging me every day. It was from work. He's like, ride, he was encouraging me. So it was his bike and he was encouraging me to ride it. And by the way, I almost crashed his bike as well. But I'm going to tell you reasons why you should never lend your bike or let anyone ride your bike. So anyway, welcome to my channel where we talk about bikes and Bible verses, and as usual we're going to have a Bible verse at the end. So the first reason why you should never lend your bike, never let people ride your bike, is from the crash statistics. When I saw this, I was shocked. I had no idea that this was actually a statistically significant reason or factor in why a crash happens. That factor is when it's not your bike. That is in statistics, in reports, evidence-based. It was not the person's bike. People talk about like, oh, don't ride at night, don't ride in the rain, it's dangerous. That is not evidence-based. The statistical report, like government produced report about crashes, has no statistically significant factor about riding at night or riding in the rain. What the statistical significant factors are like speeding, alcohol. They make up like a major part of it, like more than half. Not having your license, not wearing gear, like not wearing a helmet, was statistically significant. It showed up. And not being your own bike. And the reason is because you get these people who think they know how to ride, but they don't love bikes enough to own one. Like if you loved bikes, you to be safe, like to be a good rider, you need to really have that love for bikes, which means you would have one, at least one, maybe two or three. If you don't have any and you're claiming to be a rider and you're riding like casually, you're borrowing people's bikes, like there's no excuse for you to not have to have your own bike if you really like riding, if you're really into it. And therefore you get all these people who are not into riding but they want to ride your bike. They think they know how to ride. Yeah, sure, they've got a little bit of experience, they might even have their license and everything. They don't have that love for bikes to even own one. Financial is not a reason to not have a bike, right? Bikes are the cheapest vehicle you can buy. You can buy a really cheap one. Like for me, if it came down to money, I would be riding a $500 bike. Like if I really couldn't afford it, rather than not have a bike, I would have a $500 bike. You know what I mean? Like true riders will own their own bike. I've heard of so many crashes where someone is like, oh, let me ride your bike, and then they go off and they ride and they don't come back, or you have to go and look for them. Just for that reason, don't let anyone ride your bike. The second reason is not because, like I said, I'm not going to say because they're going to drop your bike or they're going to crash your bike, but they're going to do something on your bike that you yourself even wouldn't do. I lent my bike to someone. I let them ride it occasionally, and I found out that my fork seals were leaking. I just saw my bike and I'm like, why are my fork seals leaking? Like, I had just done the fork seals, like I took it to a professional, and they redid the fork seals, and these guys were really good. Like, they do race bikes and everything, right? And they just redone it, and I was really like upset, really like surprised why my forks are leaking after a couple of months. And then I finally switched my brain on a bit, and I'm usually not pretty smart when it comes to this sort of stuff, but I managed to put two and two together. I realized the last person who rode my bike wasn't me, it was someone else. And then I looked further and I realized that the marker for where the suspension goes down was dropped a lot. And I put two and two together that this person who rode my bike was trying to do wheelies on it, and they suck at it, right? And so, you know, when you suck at doing wheelies, it comes down hard. And obviously from the mark of the suspension on the front suspension, I can see that it's come down hard, because, you know, if you don't know how to do wheelies, you sort of dump it hard, and that's what caused my seals to leak. Now luckily it was only a temporary leak for when that person rode it, and afterwards it stopped leaking. And that same person then comes up to me later on and he's telling me about how my bottom fairings have sort of come apart a bit, and they say, oh, did someone drop your bike, and has it been dropped, and this and that. And I'm like, no, it hasn't been dropped. And it's ironic because they're telling me how the fairings at the front had come apart, which would be the same reason from someone slamming down the front end, because they don't know how to do wheelies, right? The same person. That brings me to like the third reason, which is surprises, right? You need to be in tune with your bike. You need to have a running log of what your bike has been doing. You need to be tidy, and this goes in even with the first point where like it's not your bike. Most of the incidents that I've had, mechanical incidents, were from when I just bought a bike. Like within the first month I would have some mechanical incident, right? You need to have like a running log of what your bike's doing. If someone else is riding your bike as well, you lose that, and you get surprises. You get surprises of things that happen that are wrong. You know, I was just at home the other day, and some guy, I heard this bike like it was riding. It sounded like a small bike, and then I heard the engine just cut, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if someone's just come to my place, you know, on their bike, because the engine's just sort of cut. And I went out, and this guy, like, he just lost his back brake. It just went to nothing. And I came out and asked him, like, oh, are you all good and that? And he's like, oh, I just lost my rear brake for no reason. And like, I sort of looked at it a bit. Like, I asked him, I go, how long have you been riding this bike for? You know, he's saying he's been riding it for long, but then he sort of mentions that it's been sitting at his friend's house for a year unridden. So like, I don't know, you just need to be in tune. You need to have a running log of what your bike is doing. You know, tire pressures and oil changes, and just I don't know, you get a feel for your bike, and when other people ride it, you get these surprises. And the last point is, I mean, this applies to everything, not just bikes, is fines. Like, I don't know about where other countries, but here in Australia, you get a fine. You find out about it later, like there's cameras, speed cameras, all of that, right? And you do something, you speed, a camera gets you, then a couple of weeks later a fine comes in your mail, and good luck trying to figure out who that was. You know, it's easy to forget when someone borrowed your bike, like what day was it? A lot of times, you know, you can't resolve it. Like, it's like, oh, I don't know, it could have been me, it could have been them. And that goes for cars. Like I've had some fines on my car, and I'm pretty sure, we're really sure that it wasn't me driving, it was just someone else who borrowed my car. Just to be safe, don't let anyone, just for safety's sake, especially if someone wants to ride your bike. Now, if there's a new rider and you want to encourage them to ride, and it's like a learner friendly bike, yeah, sure, you know, supervise, let them ride. So I think that's okay. But those spontaneous, but watch out for those spontaneous, oh, let me ride your bike, right? Just say no. No one, your bike is a personal item. It's your own personal item. Don't let people ride it. Okay? So anyway, we just end now with a Bible verse, and that is from Proverbs chapter 10 verse 9, and it says, a man who's upright walks in security, but a crooked person will get found out. Now, well, you know, a lot of people, I personally find myself to be too honest in the terms of like admitting when I did something wrong, and I probably think that I would never get caught out anyway, but I have this habit of just always admitting, and it might even seem like a stupid thing that I'm doing, like, why did you admit to that wrong when no one would have known anyway? But I think it's because if no one knows but God knows, and like it says in the Bible, the crooked will get found out. And you know, the thing is, you don't even have to be religious, you don't even have to believe in God to know that this is true, even though God is saying, like God is watching, right? God, but a non-religious person will vouch for this as well. You don't know how you're going to get found out, and it's just better to be honest. You know, there's a saying is, when you tell lies, you got to remember what lies you've told, because you'll get caught out. So anyway, that's all I wanted to share with you. Don't forget, if you like this video, please hit the like button, make a comment, tell me if you've had any bad experiences lending your bike to people. If you like my content in general, please subscribe, and take it easy and ride safe.